Welcome back. I have Selena here with me for more flower lessons. Last time we were talking about flowers and their petals and their sepals, and we're going to talk a little bit more about petals and sepals, but we're going to talk about the other parts of plants too, and how we classify flowers further looking at their parts. Are you ready to look at some pictures? Okay, so we're going to look at some pictures, and last time we looked at this picture as well. This is the strawberry blossom. And when we looked at this, we were looking at the petals to see how many petals in the corolla there were. But this time I want to look at this and look at the parts. So when I'm looking at this, I can see there's stamens with pollen, and I can see pistils with their sticky parts, and of course the corolla, and I can see this. I can see the sepals on the back side. So this flower has all of those parts, all of the main parts to it. And so we call this type of flower complete. A complete flower has all of its parts. Let's look at another complete flower. This is a cherry blossom. And isn't that beautiful? I love cherry blossoms. So we can see the sepals in the back on these buds. When we look at the corolla, we see it has 5 petals. And then we can see these pieces, and these other ones that look a little bit different. So this one has both stamens and pistils in this blossom. So it has the stamens, the pistils, the corolla. This one has all of its parts. We call that a complete flower. Complete flowers have all of their parts. Now let's look at the tulip. Now we can't see inside of the tulip on this, but we can imagine what is inside. We've seen inside of tulips before, but just looking at the outside, I can see that something is missing.
It doesn't have its sepals.
It doesn't have sepals. There aren't any of those green, like adapted leaves or petals that are holding it or supporting it. Yeah. How about this one? Look at that. That's a tiger lily. Do you like that tiger lily? Yeah. So when we look at this, I can see a pistil. I can see some stamen. I can see petals on a corolla.
It doesn't have sepals either.
Oh, so just like the tulip, this one doesn't have sepals. But you know what's interesting? Look at these petals. These petals are acting like sepals. Did you know that there's a special name for petals that pretend to be sepals?
No.
They're called tepals. Tepals. Petals that are acting like sepals are called tepals. So we call these tepals. I don't know why that word is so funny to you.
I find it very strange. I don't know.
Tepals. Okay, so since we're enjoying looking at the lily so much, let's look at another lily and let's talk about the lily a little bit more. Oh, I forgot to say, we got so distracted by tepals. This lily that's missing the sepals is called incomplete. It's missing a part. We see stamen, we see pistil, we see corolla, but it's still incomplete. It doesn't have all of its parts. Let's look up closer. So here's another kind of lily, and we can see here are the anthers where the pollen is and the stamen. And then this with the sticky on top, this is the pistil, and it goes all the way down to the ovary, which is right down in here. So the pistil is right in the center, surrounded by stamen. So this part of the plant, if we looked at this, it has the male reproductive part, the pollen has the female reproductive part, the pistil with the ovary. So this flower is actually called a perfect flower. Perfect flowers have both the male and female reproductive parts. But we did just learn it's incomplete. So can you imagine? A lily is a perfect, incomplete flower. That's pretty cool. We can classify things many ways. It also has many petals. So we could call it a perfect, incomplete, polypetalous flower. Isn't that so much fun? Okay, so this one is a perfect flower, but incomplete. Let's look at another one. Ooh, this is a double one. I wanted you to see 2. These are both pictures of squash blossoms. Maybe you've grown squash or pumpkins or gourds in your garden. So do you see that there's something different with these 2 pictures?
Yeah.
So this one looks a little older. We can tell the flower is a little less less beautiful, a little less strong. But when we look at it, if we look in the center, we see there's something different going on.
That one's bigger.
There's more stuff inside, and this just has a little bit. This one over here on the left, that is the stamen. We can see the pollen. What you're seeing that looks big and fluffy is the pollen. And if we look at the one on the right, there is no pollen, but there's a pistil. So the flower on the left is a squash blossom that has the male reproductive parts. And the squash blossom on the right has the female reproductive parts. So when you grow squash, it requires two different blossoms, a male blossom and a female blossom, so that you can pollinate your fruit. Isn't that cool? So squash or pumpkins are considered imperfect. They don't have all their reproductive parts. I want to show you one more. This one is a fun one. We grew it for the first time in our garden last year. These are begonias. Begonias are really cool because they have kind of like waxy leaves, and like the petals even kind of look waxy. You can see there's a difference though between the center of this begonia and the center of this begonia blossom. What do you notice?
The one on the right is a lot
Fluffier. Remember, that's the pollen. Those are the anthers covered in pollen that give it the fluffy appearance. And this one over here is full of pistils. So when we look at this, we can see that this one has many stamen and this one has many pistils. We call this a staminate blossom because it has stamens, staminate. And this one over here we call pistillate because it's full of pistils or the female reproductive part. Begonias are really cool plants because one plant can have male parts and female parts, but the blossoms are just different on each flower. But one plant has both male and female. So that's pretty cool. So there's lots of trees, lots of plants that you can explore that are incomplete or complete, perfect or imperfect, and even combinations of those. Like we saw, the lily was perfect, incomplete. It's so much fun to look at this. I love looking at flowers and their parts and classifying them. And I can't wait to see what you do and what we see in class. So we'll see you next time.